Hello everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my booktube channel, or if you're new, welcome. My name is Anna, I am a writer, tabletop game designer, geek of all trades, and here I talk about books that I'm reading and kind of just other stuff that's going on in my life. So a while ago, I remember making a kind of a reading goal for the year for myself, which was to read 30 books by Black authors, because when I did the math on the sort of makeup of the different authors that I was reading, I realized that I wasn't reading a lot of books that were by Black authors, and I wanted to change that. So since then, I think I've done a decently good job of selecting more diverse authors, looking for more diverse voices, specifically reading Black authors. But for the month of February, because it is Black History Month, I wanted to make a TBR video of books that I'm going to prioritize reading this month. This is not I need to read all of these books just in February, because Black History Month may be February, but Black History and Black Future is forever. So these are just books that I'm going to prioritize when I'm deciding what I want to read for this month, but it's not like I have to read all of them in February or else. So let's go ahead and start with We Will Not Cancel Us and Other Dreams of Transformative Justice by Adrienne Maree Brown. This is a short essay that is part of their Emergent Strategy series, which is published by AK Press. They're a radical anarchist press that publishes a lot of really cool things, including Undrowned, which is another book in the Emergent Strategy series that I'm reading for my vlog about reading books set with the ocean and the sea and bodies of water and stuff. So in We Will Not Cancel Us, movement mediator Adrienne Maree Brown reframes the discussion of cancellation for us in a way that points to possible paths beyond our impasse. Most critiques of cancel culture come from outside the milieus that produce it, sometimes even from its targets. However, Brown explores the question from a Black, queer, and feminist viewpoint that gently asks, how well does this practice serve us? Does it prefigure the sort of world we want to live in? And if it doesn't, how do we seek accountability and redress for harm in ways that reflect our values? That seems really interesting. It's also quite short, so I think this one will be easy to read in February, which is also quite short. Splat as I drop it on the ground. The next book that I have for my TBR is All About Love by Bell Hooks, which is the author's discussion of love as a verb, as a noun, as just a cultural phenomenon. I think, as I said in the book haul previously that I posted where I picked this up from Half Price Books, I have only read We Should All Be Feminists by Bell Hooks, and while I have read a lot of her work excerpted, because I think that she becomes a very Instagrammable writer. You've probably encountered her on somebody's Instagram carousel before. I actually want to sit down and thoughtfully spend some time with more of her writing. So that's what this one is for, because I got it for half price. Next up is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I picked up this copy from the store Giovanni's Room, which is in Philadelphia. It's an LGBTQ plus bookstore and thrift store that supports the Philly AIDS Society's outreach and medical treatment programming. So I picked this up there, and this is a story about, it's a novel, I believe it's his final novel, if I remember correctly, that is set in the 1950s, and it follows the American expatriates in Paris, and I know that it's this story of a man living there. I've heard that this is a good yet challenging read. It's been a minute since I last read something that was by James Baldwin, but while I was there, I really wanted to pick up the book Giovanni's Room, because the bookshop is called Giovanni's Room. Okay, so those are some of the nonfiction. I guess Giovanni's Room is not nonfiction, so we're moving straight into fiction titles with no segue. The next book that I have on the TBR is Escaping Mr. Rochester by L.L. McKinney. This book is obviously a no-brainer for me in terms of reading it. I picked up this signed copy from Loyalty Bookstores, which is a queer and Black-owned bookstore in the greater DC area. I believe they have a location in DC and a location in Maryland. But I found this book being advertised by their bookstore on Instagram, and it is kind of a revisiting of the Jane Eyre story, in which Jane Eyre and Bertha Rochester team up to escape the House of Horrors that they're both trapped in. If you have read the original, you're gonna probably have a good time with this. Obviously, I haven't read it yet, so I don't know how familiar you need to be with the original. I know that this is also a young adult book, so I'm not sure if they expect that readers are going to be familiar with that original story, but I can't wait to read this because Jane Eyre, ultimate problematic fave of mine. It's my favorite work of classic literature, although I don't know, maybe Frankenstein is my favorite. Anyway, it's either that or Frankenstein is my favorite work of classic literature, and yet there are still so many issues with that book. So I'm definitely here for any kind of retelling or re-examination of that story. Next up is a book that I picked up at my local queer thrift shop, LGBTQ plus thrift shop, which you might have near you. There's a series of them called Out of the Closet, which are thrift shops that benefit the Lifelong Alliance. That's another AIDS and HIV and reproductive health for LGBTQ people specifically focused organization. Watch me as I throw the sticky price sticker off. And that is Invisible Life, a novel by E. Lynn Harris. On the back, it says that Black Americans have been given a rare opportunity with this book to broaden their understanding of lifestyles like or unlike their own. Mr. Harris has stimulated a dialogue within the African American community desperately needed for so long about the complicated issues of sexuality, and it's called A Bold and Riveting Look into the Minds of Bisexual Black Men. So this book was released in the early 90s, and I think kind of one of the overlooked aspects of queer history is relatively recent queer history. I was alive during the 90s, but I certainly wasn't like old enough or aware enough of these conversations going on, and I also certainly wasn't aware of my own queerness yet, at least in order to describe it as such. There's an argument to be made that I was always aware of it, even if I didn't have the language to describe it. So yeah, novel about bisexual Black men. We always love to see more bisexual representation in literature, and I think this is going to be a really interesting novel to read. And then we have two sort of favorite authors of the channel that we are returning to. Let's start first with Nnedi Okorafor, who is an auto-buy author for me. Anytime she has something new coming out, I either automatically purchase it or put myself on the library holds list. I'm using auto-buy in the generous sense of I will do whatever I can to get a hold of it. And this is Noor by Nnedi Okorafor. This is a sort of sci-fi speculative book, which I picked up from the Sister Sci-Fi bookstore. Again, I picked this up because I was Instagram advertised. I was influenced, shall we say, to buy this book. And I'm going to go ahead and read you the blurb. Anwuli Okudili prefers to be called AO. To her, these initials have always stood for artificial organism. AO has never really felt natural, and that's putting it lightly. Her parents spent most of the days before she was born praying for her peaceful passing, because even in utero she was wrong. But she lived. Then came the car accident years later that disabled her even further. Yet instead of viewing her strange body the way the world views it, as a freakish, unnatural, even the work of the devil, AO embraces all that she is. A woman with a ton of major and necessary body augmentations. Let me just insert myself really quickly here to say that yes, Nnedi Okorafor is a disabled writer, and we love to read more disability in science fiction, because guess what? We will still be there when the future comes. Anyways, back to the blurb. And then one day she goes to her local market and everything goes wrong. Once on the run, she meets a Fulani herdsman named DNA, and the race against time across the deserts of northern Nigeria begins. In a world where all things are streamed, everyone is watching the reckoning of the murderess and the terrorist, and the saga of the wicked woman and madman unfold. This fast-paced, relentless journey of tribe, destiny, body, and the wonderland of technology revels in the fact that the future sometimes isn't so predictable. Expect the unaccepted. I love that. This sounds really, really interesting. I know I love Nnedi Okorafor's writing, and it's just gonna be a fantastic read. And then last but not least, also from Sister Sci-Fi, I picked up Kinning, which is the new novel by Nizi Shawl. They are the author of Everfair, which was a sort of sci-fi speculativist discussion of what would have happened if the colonialism that Belgium did in Congo and in Central Africa never actually happened. So it was like this alternate future in which that part of Africa had not been decimated by Belgian colonialism. Sister Sci-Fi sent me this beautiful bookmark. Love it. So let me go ahead and read you the blurb for this. And this takes place in the same sort of location. So like Everfair, the country still exists. So the Great War is over, Everfair has found peace within its borders, but our heroes' stories are far from done. Tink and his sister Bee Lung are traveling the world via air canoe, spreading the spores of a mysterious empathy-generating fungus. I always appreciate when books let us lean into our fungal forms. Through these spores, they seek to build bonds between people and help spread the revolutionary sentiments of socialism and equality, the very ideals that led to Everfair's founding. Meanwhile, Everfair's Princess Mwadi and Prince Ilunga return home from a sojourn in Egypt to vie for their country's role following the abdication of their father, King Mwenda. But their mother, Queen Josina, manipulates them both from behind the scenes, while also pitting Europe's influenza-weakened political powers against one another as these countries fight to regain control of their rebellious colonies. Will Everfair continue to serve as a symbol of hope, freedom, and equality to anti-colonial movements around the world, or will it fall to forces inside and out? I am really excited to read this. And I honestly think, oh no, the hardcover book got a ding on it. I'm gonna have to fix that poor little book. That's okay. That's very fixable. I just feel bad, when books get dinged up, it kind of feels like they're getting hurt, and the ideas inside of them are. Anyway, as I was saying, I think that this book is going to make me want to reread Everfair. I read it years ago when it came out, and honestly, I don't really remember too much about it. But I'm gonna just full steam ahead and put Kenning on my TBR for this month, even if I may need a bit of a refresher on what happened in that book. So those are all of the Black History Month TBR books that I have. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 books for a Black History Month TBR. Watch me cutely holding them up for my thumbnail picture. I think that all of these books are going to be great no matter when it is I get to them. I'm also continuing to read Undrowned Black Feminist Teachings from Marine Mammals. I think I got the subtitle correct, but that's going to be discussed probably more in depth in my ocean reading vlog. So that's it. Are you going to be reading any books in particular for Black History Month? Or if you do not have specific plans, please leave me a book by a Black author that you enjoyed down below in the comments. I'm also always interested if you have any books that are written for children and youth written by Black authors, because as somebody that works in the sort of educational umbrella of different jobs, I'm always on the lookout for good books to read with the children that I educate. Yeah, if you like this video and you would like to see more of what I do, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That's the best way to know when I post new videos. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!